Remember when we talked about feeling like things aren't really fitting anymore, that sense of restlessness um, and discomfort? So let's actually break down what that actually looks like over time. So there are three stages people commonly move through as they outgrow an old version of themselves. And knowing these can actually make the process feel a little clearer. So we're going to talk about those three stages now. So the first stage, I call it the loosening, when your old operating system starts to glitch, right? And I like using a computer as an analogy because often when you get a computer, you have the default system, but sometimes we add certain things to enhance it. And so you are similar to that, right? You come with a default system, and it's up to you to remove, to add, to do things that are going to enhance you in a way that gives you a much better quality of life. But the first stage is the loosening, is when the drive and the motivation that you once had starts to like just fade away, right? It's as if the way you've been running your life is literally losing its rhythm, right? And so you might go through the motions, but you feel pretty disconnected, like you're just watching your own life from a distance. You're like, there I am, making all those decisions, moving about, but it not really feeling connected. Right? And many people begin to panic here. And so they try to push harder, right? They're forcing motivation or they're doubling down on old habits. Uh, Maybe they are, because they're noticing they're withdrawing from their community or friend groups, they double book themselves and they try to be everything to everybody, right? And sometimes a break feels like the answer, but when you return to yourself, nothing's changed. You pull away, you come back, you do that sort of bouncing back and forth thing, right? And so what's really happening is that the part of you that's been holding everything together, again, it's loosening its grip. And what it's doing is it's making room for something new to actually grow. And if this sounds familiar, let me know. Let me know what used to motivate you that no longer does. You might notice the changes in your body again, the restlessness, strange sleep patterns, shifts in appetite, or even desire. Relationships begin to feel off too. Conversations may begin to feel a bit shallow. You might want more space, even if it confuses you and others, like I mentioned earlier. Work might be losing its meaning, whether it's like projects, meetings, all of them just start to feel pointless because you're so disconnected from it. It doesn't drive you anymore, right? You might even daydream about completely different paths that don't even make sense just yet. I remember a few years ago, and actually, I still daydream about this. I'm like, I just want to go live on an island somewhere. And my closest neighbor is a tree, okay? I just want to be in the middle of the jungle somewhere, just enjoying nature and just be at peace with the birds. Um, so that's what I daydream about sometimes. But then I realized I'll only want that temporarily and I want to come back into the world and connect. But this first stage is absolutely necessary. Think of it like the first cracks that signal that the old is ready to give way. Okay. And if you're experiencing this stage, definitely let me know. Stage two is what I remember I talked about, the void, when you feel like you don't know who you are anymore. And I was in the void for a long time. Okay. A long time. And then when I met my mentor and she explained to me what the void was, and I was like, huh. And when I would have those conversations with my partner that I mentioned earlier, that was me being in the void. And now I feel like I'm coming out of that void or I'm out of that void. I have to kind of reflect on that a little bit. But the void is the part where it's hardest to recognize yourself. Your old interests no longer call to you. You're really not sure what's next, right? Big questions surface like, what do I really want? What do I truly believe in? Who am I without all these masks? What happens if I just take all these masks off? And it's okay if if those answers aren't really clear yet. You find yourself even in social moments, they may even feel pretty draining. You might feel like you're pretending to be someone else, even around the people that you love being around, the people that rocked with you, right? And you're just like not the same. Even decisions become overwhelming because the usual ways of making them just aren't working. So everything starts to feel heavier. This is when deep questions about meaning and purpose begin to arise, right? Not because something is inherently wrong, but because your perspective it's expanding, right? And if these questions have been on your mind, definitely let me know. But you might even feel isolated, even around others. Authentic connection can actually be challenging when you're uncertain about yourself. It's really hard to connect because you're kind of in this liminal space, right? Our culture doesn't teach us how to hold space for this level of uncertainty. It expects answers, it expects plans and certainty from the get go, right? And so many begin exploring around this stage, like spirituality, maybe therapy, philosophy, as a way to understand this new territory, because you find that these questions that you're asking, they hold spiritual depth, right? They're not like practical questions that are going to give you practical answers. And these questions are invitations to reconnect with the divinity within you. And for me, when I was in this space, that's when I was introduced to plant medicines, and I've done some plant medicine journeys to help me really reconnect with that depth. I started to explore what does it mean to be a divine being, not from the religious standpoint. I grew up in a very religious household, and that didn't really connect with me. So I had all these really interesting spiritual questions that couldn't be answered. And then when I found my mentor, and I met my partner who's very spiritually sound, and all those things just started to come together, right? And so this stage is less emptiness, it's more fertile ground. It's breaking down old parts to allow growth, right? And you just need to be willing to sit with not knowing, which I know is hard for y'all, but it is absolutely necessary, right? Because there is a mystery to life in itself. Like, we're not going to know everything. We're not meant to know everything. And we're not meant to know everything moment to moment, right? There's a mystery to life. And there's such infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom, you couldn't be able to learn it in a lifetime anyway. When you have this deep desire to be certain, to know something, it's because your nervous system just wants safety. So it's like, okay, what's another way that I can get that sense of safety? Or how can I give it to myself without spinning in the meaning of things, of the knowing, of the certainty of things, right? Let me check. Let me just get some water. I hope some of this is making sense. I hope it's helpful. You could always ask questions. You could ask questions in the replay too. I always come back and check the comments. But before we move forward, let's just pause and take a breath. Woo, it's a lot of information. Wherever you are in this process and this journey, I want you to just notice what's coming up for you right now. Um, we've talked about a deep part of you that's kind of outgrowing a life that no longer fits, that feeling of being lost, unsettled, and stretched maybe in ways that you might not have expected. And so this journey that you're on, it's layered, right? It's complex, it's deeply personal, and it's like peeling back old skin or unfolding a story that you thought you already knew. It it starts as complex, but over time, as you begin to peel away, it actually becomes rather simple. It really, really does. It's hard to trust that in the moment, but it does simplify itself once we allow ourselves. I always say when you go through the muck, right? Once you allow yourself to just kind of go through that journey and you come on the other side of it, you're like, oh my God, it was pretty simple, right? And I know this isn't easy. It can feel pretty confusing and unsettling. And again, that's okay. That's part of the journey. You're not meant to have it all figured out right now. So we can just let that story go. All right. I'm done with that. And so this moment of not knowing, this restlessness it's actually a beautiful sign that something important is shifting inside of you. And if this feels overwhelming, know that you're not alone, right? Many who sort of walk this path find themselves caught between the past and what's next, unsure how to move forward without losing themselves. Okay, let me check the chat. I see something here. I feel like I feel like I'm between two worlds. Like if I don't know the Bible, I cannot elevate. I feel like I'm more spiritually connected, but something keep on telling me I need to know the Bible. Huh. Interesting. Um, all right, Isabella, take care of yourself. Thank you for sharing. yeah, that's an interesting place to be. So if you, I always say whatever you're feeling prompted to do, experiment with that, with the understanding that it will evolve. Right? I went through this stage, and I'll share this with somebody in the chat. When my brother passed away, um, what 3 years now, I I feel like my whole life has been a journey of understanding death and loss and all this thing. So I've made it a point to really get comfortable with this idea, not to get morbid with y'all. This is a whole. I'm getting sidetracked, but I want to address this. And I went through this stage of like, I really need to understand death. I need to understand it. And I read a lot of books. There was a specific series that I went down that I piled on, and I read and I read and I read. I watched YouTube videos, and I just went through this. I just consumed myself with that topic. And then now I'm like, okay, I had enough. Did I get what I really needed? Not necessarily, but I felt at peace with what was being presented to me. So I say this to you to say that if you're feeling the nudge to head in a specific direction, be open to exploring it without any attachment to the outcome. Also, without the attachment to know what it means to go down this path, right? As long as it's not harming you or harming other people, it's kind of your own process, your own evolution, then just experiment, right? Just experiment with whatever is coming up without the attachment that it has to be something, it has to look a certain way, it has to be anything. Okay. Let me see. Yes, my partner's in the chat. Um, Experiment with the thing that's calling for your attention. Yeah, just experiment. Life is one big experiment, okay, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all know no one knows what they're doing. I'm up here talking to y'all because I've just had some experiences of my own personal experiences, professional experiences, but I too don't know everything, okay? I don't know everything. I just know a few things that personally resonated with me and that I'm sharing with y'all, and hopefully we can all elevate together and enhance our quality of lives and live better lives and just enjoy this journey as much as we can, right? And the no attachment thing, it's a process, right? It's a process, but there are opportunities there to practice some of that stuff, right? Um, all right. So, what did I say last time? Where was I? All right. Now that I have, yes. So, someone in the chat, my partner, said, like a child exploring their curiosity, the fun of evolving for sure. Yes. The world is literally your canvas. It is your backyard. Explore it. All right. Someone said, I appreciate discipline is beauty. I appreciate your channel. Let's see. Helps me think outside the box and it makes me ask questions to grow. Ah, I'm glad that it does. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So I have ideas for navigating each stage of this process, all the stages that we just mentioned. But this video is already full, right? It has a lot of wisdom and feelings that can take time to sit with. So I don't want to like dump all this stuff at you. But I just want to share one practical, powerful tool with you. It was already mentioned in the chat, um, but it's so simple, it's so universal that you can come back to it again and again. And it's a tool that, if you trusted it and used it, could gently guide you through this whole experience, no matter where you are on the journey. And before I introduce it, just take another breath. I need it. And just check in with yourself, right? What part of this process feels most authentic to you right now? And just hold that and let's move forward together. So I kept asking myself, if I had to just pick one practical tool, right? One thing that you could trust and use every day to powerfully transform how you move through this whole experience, what would it be? What single shift could make the biggest difference, no matter where you are on this journey? And that's when I realized It's the power of choosing curiosity over resistance. My partner mentioned the word curiosity in the chat. Curiosity is not just an intellectual exercise or a surface level, let's see what happens kind of thing. It's a deep, compassionate way of being with yourself and your experience. When you lean into curiosity, you're giving yourself permission to really notice what's alive inside, whether it's fear, grief, confusion, restlessness, or it could be positive emotion like, man, this I'm really interested in this thing, like we were just talking about earlier, right? Without immediately trying to fix, push away, or even numb those feelings, or without trying to get external validation. Like you are your own guru. Remember that, right? You know yourself better than anyone else. You know your experiences better than anyone else. Sometimes it's okay to kind of like check in, but know that you have the final answer, okay? Like you don't need too much external validation. But curiosity, it's about becoming a kind witness to your thoughts, your feelings, and all the bodily sensations, noticing them, meeting them with a soft, open attention instead of pushing them away or getting stuck in them. And here's the power of curiosity: it creates a space inside you where change can happen naturally. And so this simple shift, this simple shift, say that 3 times, inviting curiosity can change how you relate to your confusion, your restlessness, your uncertainty. Instead of feeling trapped in old patterns, right? You start to see them as part of this journey, something to explore rather than resist, right? So it's like, I'm really uncertain about this next step. And these are conversations I have with myself, right? Out loud. Like I'm just walking around talking to myself. I'm like, like what is it about this feeling that's making me feel uncertain? And just this is curiosity. This is exploration. Just getting curious with everything that comes up because the more that you're curious about it, the more that it will reveal itself to you. And the deeper you go, the more that you will get the feedback that you need to kind of make sense. And sometimes not everything has an answer. I will say that. Some things just don't have an answer. And some things we're not privy to, right? If you look at it on a spiritual level. So not everything will have an answer. And so it's being okay with that for the time being and understanding that maybe the answer will show itself as I just continue to just live and be, right? As I continue to be an active participant in my life, right? And so curiosity allows everything to slow down. It slows down the overwhelm, it invites insight, it allows compassion to grow, right? It helps you to connect with your own deeper wisdom. And importantly, this isn't about rushing to some solution or a big breakthrough.